everyone, and welcome to today's conversation of excellence. I am Stella BIDA. I'm your host for today, and I am not alone, as you can see. I am receiving today Honorable Emma Theofelus. She is a member of parliament, but also deputy minister at the Ministry of Information, Communication Technology in the Republic of Namibia. Emma, welcome to this conversation. I'm so excited to receive you today.
Thank you so much, Stella. Thank you for having me.
You know, Emma, we've been already discussing over the last months, and I've discovered so many great things about you. That's why I'm so happy that we have you today. Now, I know I've presented you in a few words, but I know also that you're much, much more than that, and we're going to discover it along the conversation. But before we deep dive, is there anything about you that you would already love people to know as an introduction before we start?
Well, I guess I'm just an ordinary 24-year-old young woman
Mm,
who had the privilege of having an education. I am a qualified lawyer in the Republic of Namibia. I'm passionate about women and children. I always have been, especially children. I learned very quickly at a young age, just by observing, being an observant little child, and discovering that the reason why some people succeed more than others is because of their foundation, how they were brought up. So,
mm,
from a very early age, I understood that if all children were given the same opportunities, were given the same ability to be their best versions, all of them will be successful in their own ways. So for me, my passion then always started with children, and that's what I'm passionate about.
mm. You mentioned children quite a few times when you were
Yeah.
talking about your passion, and I can see it. And it brings me to a first question. You also talked about foundation, having the right foundation.
Mhm.
According to you, what has been what have been the most important elements of your foundation which allow you to be where you are today?
Well, I think the first one is having the confidence to venture into different kinds of things. And this
Mm,
confidence was derived from a support system of my parents, teachers. Um, Teachers in school that encouraged me to take part in spelling quiz bees, in debating tournaments, in sports activities, even if I was terrible at sports, you know, and my parents allowing me to touch my hands into different kinds of things, to have a
mm,
feeling of what I like, what I didn't like, what I was passionate about, what I enjoyed and what I didn't enjoy. And having that support system really assisted me to have the confidence to try out things and to fail when I wasn't good at something and to try again when I had the feeling of trying again. That foundation carried me up until today because it gave me the confidence to believe in myself,
mm,
um, to believe in my abilities. I mean, even when it came to school and I felt a subject was too difficult or I wasn't concentrating well enough, I had this feeling of I should trust my brain. You know, even in an exam room where I could go blank, you know, I would calm down and trust that what I learned, I
mm,
can remember in the exam room. You know, all of that, little things like that, I think
mm.
is what got me to where I am here. Having the confidence and belief that I can do the best I can do, even if it's not excellent or it's not beyond grandeur, as long as I do the best that I can and that I'm happy in what I've done, and I can always try again and again and again. So that confidence really came handy throughout my life.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Emma. Um, it's beautiful to see, and also the way you share, like really acknowledging the fact that I'm trying again and again and again, and even if it's not perfect, I'm still going to try again. That's really wonderful as a sharing for people to understand that, you know, we all fail, we're all trying, We haven't figured it out.
Not even close.
Like, I'm still trying to figure things out. And it's beautiful because it just shows people that it's accessible, right?
Yeah.
I love it. I love your sharing. And I picked up a sentence you said. You said something at a moment like, I trust my brain.
Yes.
And it reminds me, I went to your website a few days ago, and there was a section, I think it was called Inside Emma's Brain. And I clicked on it, and I was like, oh wow, I can't wait for Emma to tell us what is in her brain. And I thought like, this is a chapter that not often appears on websites. So if Emma called it Inside Emma's Brain, then I suppose there's a reason to that. So Emma, can you tell us why this chapter on your website is important, and what is actually inside Emma's brain?
Well, I think for me, it's an individual journey. When I was younger, people were always so fascinated about the stories I could make up. When I hear stories when I was a toddler that somebody would ask me about any random thing and I would have no knowledge of it. I probably would never even have known the word, but I would come up with this story and make it flow and just come up with something, even though there was nothing. And that kind of clicked with me, and I realized that I've carried that my whole life. When I was challenged to not knowing something, I took out the time to learn about it. When I realized, and I became a bookworm very early. My mom introduced me to books when I was really young. So I had two things that I enjoyed in my life, which was television and books. I enjoyed television. I enjoyed learning the language of English, the new words, my vocabulary grew. And when I became a good reader, the books even opened up that world more. And I saw different kinds of stories that I could imagine the stories coming to life and all of that. So the more I realized that there's so much more I can learn, whether it's in English as a language, whether it's in stories, topics, like the world was becoming bigger and bigger. And then I realized my brain needs to absorb all of this. Somehow, some way, I need to know all of this. And the more I learned, and the more I realized actually that I could trust my brain. I can tell you now, I remember what I learned in the 7th grade. I remember because I didn't learn to pass the exam. I took a decision to learn to know for life. And that
Can
for
you
me
repeat
was
that? You took the decision
to learn to know for life.
Oh, wow.
So whatever I learned, I didn't just learn to pass an exam or to pass a test or to complete an assignment in class. I learned to know, and with the hope that I will use it later on in my life. So I learned to know and to learn this for life, to know it for my whole life and to reflect on it when I need it later on in my life. So that for me was me trusting my brain, and that meant that whatever I was putting in was in the hope that I discover it one day, because sometimes we learn things and we park them in the backs of our brains until one day we come to a realization that I actually learned this lesson and I'm experiencing this. And I learned this lesson through this something that I experienced before or something I read about someone else's story. And this is how they're able to overcome it. So I believe that's how my brain works. I try to store as much as I can, hopefully to nitpick from it and to use it later on in my life. I mean, and it's a reflection of what I have in real life. My sister calls me a hoarder, that I keep so many unnecessary things because I always think, but I never know when I'm going to need this. If I throw it out now or give it away, it means I'll have to acquire it again. And instead I could have just had it with me, to use it when I need it. But I think that's how my brain works. I try to create a reserve of knowledge that one day I'm going to use it to not only impact my life, but maybe hopefully impact others. And I think that's what is in my brain.
Emma, thank you for sharing what is in your brain. I loved it when you were, showing us how you put things in your brain and picking it and putting them inside. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. I really love what I enjoy in what you shared is I see that you fully use your imagination in getting knowledge and acquiring and experiencing. It's so beautiful. And I wanted to ask you, I mean, you are a powerful leader today. And I was wondering, as you were talking about your brain, what for you is, if you had to name one element that you've put into your brain a few years ago that allows you today to be the great leader that you are today? You know why I'm asking you this question? Because I often work with people who want to reveal their leadership abilities and put them at the service of their vision. But oftentimes they're like, no, I'm not a leader. I'm not able to do this. It's not for me. I don't want to put myself in the front. And there are so many, I have the feeling there are so many myths about leadership. So my question to you is that what is the element from a few years ago that you put into your brain, which allows you to be the great leader that you are today?
Oh, that's a difficult one. I've actually not thought of that. But if I have to think, um, I think it would be two things in one.
Mhm.
That would be open-mindedness and the ability to continuously learn. Um, whether in leadership or whether when I follow other leaders, I I always try to keep an open mind because I realized, I mean, I've been thrusted into leadership early on in my life. Let me just give a bit of context there.
Mhm.
And I think it's because I was a very confident child, like I said earlier before. So I remember being made class captain in grade one. In grade one, all of us are meeting for the first time. The 6-year-old, 7-year-olds, we are meeting for the first time. And the teacher, maybe on the second or third day, asks who should become class captain, and people start pointing people, and everyone agrees it should be Emma. And this is my journey throughout my whole life. I'm being asked to be a leader at my local church. I'm being asked to be a leader at the after school center where I used to go. I'm becoming head girl in 7th grade. I'm becoming class captain again in grade 8 in a high school. We are meeting again for the first time, all of these people. So I think my confidence contributed to people feeling that they can trust me with leadership. And throughout my life in being thrusted in these leadership positions that I sometimes felt I was not ready for, and I was willing to learn as I'm going. In my learning in becoming a leader, I realized you need to have an open mind. Whether it's with regards to your followers or situations that might uh, find you as you're a leader. And secondly, be willing to learn. I learned from my followers. I learned from my colleagues. I learned from people that I was leading. I didn't, I, I didn't believe that my leading style was the best, or that everything that I said goes, or that my solutions would overcome all the challenges we're facing. I learned to listen and to learn from others and to collaborate and to use their knowledge alongside my knowledge. And I think taking that decision and putting that in my brain, that be open-minded, even when someone is bringing up a solution and it doesn't sound correct and it doesn't sound like it's doable, be open about it and think about the possibilities around it. And I think for me that helped me a lot because it made me a leader that is able to listen and to understand where people are coming from and to accept their leading style or their outlook on life and use that to my advantage to bring up solutions for the collective.
Beautiful. Thank you, Emma. Thanks a lot. You talked about ending that answer, the solutions that you want to bring to the collective. What is, again, in Emma's brain, what is the solution? I love when I see you now, I will see your brain. What is the change, or this, what is the change for which you want to bring solutions to? What is the change that really matters to you today?
It's so much. There's so much that needs to happen at
Mm,
home here in Namibia, on the African continent,
mm,
all over the world. Um, but for me, in all honesty, if every child in the world gets equal opportunities to education and self-actualization, we're going to have great societies. Um, so this could mean that, they are healthy children, they have health care available to them to ensure that they get the assistance they need. They have a great education. They have access to ICTs, because now ICTs allow people to have access to opportunities beyond their living environment, beyond their realities they're living. Um, so ICTs, which is, the future of the world, the fourth industrialization is upon us. If children have the opportunity to access ICTs, food, you know, proper nutrition. So many children do not have the opportunity to grow into strong, capable adults because their lives are cut short because they do not have the proper nourishment to grow their brain to fully develop into the capacity it needs to develop. So for me, I think those those four or five, maybe with the help of safety,
mm,
children to feel safe away from violence anyway, so that they do not need to heal from traumas
mm,
of childhood when they grow up. I think those five for me would be the change. We will not have broken societies. We have very little social ills in our communities. Crime rates will go down. More and more people, young and old, will become more loving and caring and willing to build our societies. But it all starts with investing in children, a time when you can bend their values, where you can straighten out who they are, because they say a grown tree is too late to be bended, and that's a metaphor they use for human beings that are older adults. You cannot change who they are once they're grown, but children, you can bend and shape and reshape. And for me, that investment, if the world can just invest in children, we will see the change quickly in 20 years' time without putting any much work into it.
mm. I I got goosebumps when you talked about uh, sorry, you see, the goosebumps are still there. When you talked about children and the safety part, when you talked about the safety part, and sometimes, children being unsafe, feeling unsafe, and later when they grow, healing the traumas,
Yes.
huh, it really touched me. It did touch me. And as you were saying that, I must admit that I saw a link in my own life, like because of these unsafe environments, or the feeling that I'm not safe as a child, how it actually impacted my leadership abilities. Like, you're afraid then to lead. You want to hide, you just want to go, under the table and just be safe. And it's unbelievable how much it actually impacts us as an adult.
Of course. Of course, it's
So
our foundation.
it is. So
Mm.
thank you for sharing that aspect. And it's really so important. It really touches me. So I appreciate that you came back on that safety part, which is so fundamental. I think also. And it leads me to my question that I told you in the beginning when we were
Uh-huh.
offline, that I always have one question that I ask.
Mhm.
And now is the time for the question. And
All
it
right.
it falls well because we just talked about children and their needs. And my question, Emma, is to go back to Emma when she
Mhm.
was 10 years old.
Mhm.
So if you
Yeah.
had Emma of 10 years old in front of you, what would you tell her?
Ooh, a few months ago, someone said, if you'd go back to 18-year-old Emma, which is not very far long off, it's only 6 years. What would you tell her? And now you're asking me to go back to 10-year-old Emma.
Mm.
Uh, if I was to go back to 10-year-old Emma, I would tell her to trust her instincts.
Mm.
I think when I was younger, I told you, I was encouraged to try all kinds of things.
Mm.
And at some point, it did bring a lot of confusion. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I'd like to be. And that brought a lot of stress on me because I just felt I don't have it figured out. And I think, yes, at 10
Mm.
years old, I was at that point, 10 to 13 to 15. I didn't have it. I didn't actually know. But I would go back to 10-year-old Emma and I'd say, trust your instincts and continue what you're doing. And I think because there's so much doubt and so much uneasiness and so
Mm.
sureness around it, I wasn't sure if what I was doing is really going to contribute to a good future, if I'm on the right path. But
Mm.
I think now where I am now, I would go back to 10-year-old and Emma to say, trust your instinct, you're doing good. Continue what you're doing. Continue doing it at your best of your ability. You're doing great. Continue what you're doing. That's what I would tell 10-year-old Emma.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And Emma, we are like it's always too short, but we're heading towards our end, the last minutes of our conversation. And the conversations of excellence, really at its core, it's to share with people that they just really have the ability to trust in their vision and make things happen around them, no matter who they are, no matter their circumstances. You talked about your brain, you illustrated absolutely that idea of the conversations. But
Yeah.
for the last minutes, I wanted just to leave you like an open floor, like, what is the question that I've not asked you that would contribute to that vision of letting people know that they have the power to make things happen?
I think power also lies in numbers, and I think
Mm.
that's something I came to learn as I took on bigger and bigger roles of leadership.
Mm.
That sometimes your vision um, can be a component of someone else's bigger vision,
Mm-hmm.
and other people's visions feed into your vision. What I'm trying to say here is where you're going and where you want to go, most of the times you cannot achieve on your own.
Mm.
Yes, you have a path you want to follow, which will come with obstacles, that is guaranteed. But you will not get yourself out of those obstacles. Sometimes you need the help of others.
Mm.
So you need to find people who are like you, who can align to your vision, and that you can align your vision to theirs for you to collectively reach the destination you want to reach. And that comes from learning how to collaborate, how
Mm.
to work with others. Because we're not an island. Even when we're born, we're not alone. We need people to take care of us and be there for us. And that continues throughout our lives. And we also need to replicate that in other people's lives. We need to take care of them and be there for them. So, in whatever vision you have, don't burn yourself out trying to achieve it on your own. There's an easier way with Ubuntu, with other people that can come and be there for you and help you achieve your vision. So learn how to work with others,
Mm.
be a team player, learn to collaborate. Sometimes you need to park your vision and help someone else's so they can, once they're on their good path, they can also reciprocate that for yours. There's no perfect formula, but learn to collaborate and be there for others because your vision must be bigger than yourself. It cannot only serve you, it needs to serve other people. But that requires also other people's input and be open to that.
I love it, Emma. This question, it was really worth taking the time to listen to you on this question. So powerful. Thank you, Emma. Thank you for being with us in the conversations of excellence. I mean, personally, I've been nourished during these last minutes. And I know that the people who are listening today have also been inspired by your experience and what you shared. So, yeah, thank you very much, Emma. Thank you. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you, Stella, for having me. I had a great time. And thank you. I mean, your questions were so unique and made me think and made me reflect. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Emma. Bye.
Bye.